For more on this, let's bring in criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, great to have you with us today on this. And of course, the big question, as we heard in Madeline Rivera's report, will Hunter testify? You're a defense attorney. Would you put him on the stand? What are the pros and cons of that?
Hey, Anita, great to be back with you. So, yeah, this is a high-risk, high-reward decision. What do I mean by that? Well, if Hunter Biden takes the stand and he looks at the jury and says, at the time I filled out that form to purchase a gun, I was not using illegal drugs, I was not a drug addict, then arguably he seals the deal, right? Because as of now, the prosecution hasn't really put up a witness saying that at the time Biden fills out the form, he was under the influence. So that could arguably exonerate him. The flip side of that, though, is if he gets up on the stand and says, hey, at that time I wasn't a drug addict, then prosecutors can bring in impeachment evidence. They can go into, like Griff said, alleged drug dealers. They could possibly go into his lifestyle. They could use other evidence about him taking drugs to make him look like a terrible, irresponsible person. So it's risky. If I was a betting man, I would say that Hunter Biden's not going to take the stand.
Okay, well, we will see. There was certainly lots of testimony from relatives, ex-wives, ex-girlfriends about Hunter's drug use right around the time of that drug purchase in 2018. Let's put up some of what Hallie Biden said. Hallie Biden, the sister-in-law of Hunter Biden, also a former lover. Here you go. She says she and Hunter were romantically involved from late 2015 through 2016. Hunter gave her crack cocaine in June of 2018 during a trip to Los Angeles. In October of 2018, Hallie cleaned out Hunter's car. She found remnants of crack cocaine and the gun. And of course, we know from video evidence, she tossed that gun into a waste paper bin, or a trash bin. So do you think the prosecution in presenting their evidence did a good job?
I think, Anita, they did what they could with the evidence they had, right? They don't have somebody coming in saying on the day that Hunter Biden filled out that form that he was a user or he was a drug addict. They've done the best they can. I mean, the defense is making a good argument, too, which is the law is that Hunter had to have knowingly violated the law. Has the prosecution put on evidence that Hunter Biden knowingly broke the law when he filled out that form? So on one hand, it's helpful to show that Hunter Biden at some point was a drug addict. But the million-dollar question is, was he a drug addict, a user, an addict at the time he filled out the form? And the defense lawyers are also arguing, Anita, that, look, this is a victimless crime, that Hunter apparently had been in rehab for 11 days leading up to when he purchased the gun. So they're going to make a big deal about that in closing argument as well. Look, he's on his home turf. I mean, I think it's going to be hard to get a guilty verdict here. I think you're more likely to see an acquittal or a hung jury. I doubt you'll see a guilty verdict in Delaware with Hunter Biden.
Yeah, especially, and just a quick comment here, with the Biden family in the front rows of that courtroom every day, especially Jill Biden flying back and forth from France to attend this. A quick comment on that and the impression that has on the jury.
Yeah, Nia, great point. Look, these jurors are human beings like you and me. If they're looking over there and they're seeing a caring family, they're seeing Jill Biden, the first lady, sitting in the front row, that tells them that this family is tight-knit, that mom cares about him. And then think about it. The last witness was Hunter's daughter. I'm not sure why they would have called her. She was testifying about what happened after the gun was purchased, and she's choked up. Hunter's crying with a tissue. I mean, all of this emotion goes into the jurors. They're told not to rule on sympathy, but we know they do that all the time. Yeah, so I think that's a daunting fact that's going to favor Hunter Biden likely getting acquittal. And Anita, that might actually help President Trump if he gets acquitted, because then he can argue, look what happens to me in New York, look what happens in Hunter on his home turf in Delaware.
Yeah, well, speaking of President Trump, I want a quick comment on this. Yesterday, there was news that someone who is likely a prankster or a troller described himself as the cousin of a juror. He posted on a Facebook chat group that Trump was getting convicted the day before the conviction. Now, Judge Merchan, there you go. My cousin is a juror and says President Trump is getting convicted. Thank you, folks, for all your hard work. Now, Judge Merchan came out right away, disclosed it. And so now there'll be people looking looking into it. The Trump team is certainly looking into it. But Brian, what do you make of this?
Yeah, Anita, well, I think this is a big development. I mean, Mershon did the right thing, but what I think where they kind of fell short is then they quickly came out and said, oh, this is just an internet troll. Really? Why'd you post that if you think it's an internet troll, number one? And number two, are you going to give President Trump's legal team enough information about this post so they can do their own independent investigation? This cannot be taken lightly. And if I'm Trump's lawyers, I'm requesting a hearing on this internet post. And I want to find that person and cross-examine that person in a courtroom. That's what I would be doing if I'm repping Trump.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they absolutely will be doing that. Brian Claypool, thank you so much for your thoughts today. Great to see you and really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Anita.